to A Scary State, and this week we're capping it off with the capital. So, Lauren,
Yes, Kenzie?
let's get scary.
So I have a really funny story. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Okay, so on Friday,
You have 2 ghosts now.
no. On Friday, I was at work, and I had already worked, like, that Sunday, and now we're Friday, and I was sleepy
Of course.
because I was also going in earlier. Anywho, so I was gonna get a bagel from Dunkin', and my friend was before me, and so she goes up and she orders a cinnamon and raisin bagel.
A what?
Cinnamon and raisin bagel.
Okay.
So I was like, ooh, that sounds delicious. So I go up and I say, oh, I'll have the same thing, a cinnamon and raisin bagel. And then my brain short-circuited, and, like, the lady, like, looked at me, and I looked at her, and she, like, hit it, like, rung it in, and then I was like, cinnamon and raisin? I could not figure out what the damn name of this bagel was called.
The words just start to form into one.
But so I got my cinnamon and raisin bagel.
There you go.
The first reason I messed up when I told you is I can't say the name anymore.
Wait, what?
When, just right now, when
Yeah.
I first said cinnamon, you were like, what?
Oh, yeah, it didn't sound like cinnamon.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is.
I thought you said sesame.
Yep, nope.
I was like,
And now I have to
Sweet
think
potato.
about it because now cinnamon and raisin, it doesn't sound like both of them should have an N at the end.
what should they have?
I don't know, an L. Cinnamon and raisin.
So then it goes with bagel.
That maybe is where the the little switch came.
Just like how your RN makes you think it's an M.
Yes, it happens. But it was delicious.
Ew. What'd you get on it?
And just cream cheese.
Mm.
But it was so good.
I'm glad.
And I messaged her after and I was like, my friend, not the lady who made it.
Good clarification.
And I was like, very nice choice. I was going to go with everything because I typically do everything. But I don't know.
You
she
would've been
said
able to
that-
say it better.
But it was just like that moment where I said the words and I was like, that's wrong. And I just stood there trying to think what the right words were and I wasn't coming to mind.
Nope. That's okay though.
She understood. It was fine.
Yeah. She's probably heard worse.
And it was like, what would it have been? Like 7 a.m? It's early.
It's early.
She forgives me.
She doesn't care. She doesn't want to be there.
Probably not.
Get 2 shits how you say cinnamon and raisin bagel.
I know.
Wow, I said that so smoothly.
Some people just shine in the light, I see.
Yes, thank you. So glad you acknowledged that. It's about time. Maybe you already have pregnancy brain.
Yeah, pre-pregnancy brain. Not even pregnant pregnancy brain.
Maybe it happened last night. Spontaneously.
Spontaneously, all of a sudden. I took a test this morning, so it would have had to happen in like 2 hours. It's because we ate sushi on Friday, and I drank yesterday, so I was like, maybe let's just make sure.
You're not allowed to, well, I know you're not allowed to drink, but you can't have sushi.
No,
Oh.
you can't have raw fish.
I don't think one should ever have raw fish, but
I love sushi,
I know you do.
so I'd be very upset for the day that I can't eat it.
For 9 whole months.
I know. That's why some women, when they're in like, have you seen the videos? They're in the delivery room, they have their baby in their arms, and they're like eating sushi. That will be me.
We're not on the same side of TikTok.
Not even TikTok.
Facebook
Reels.
Oh, man.
Just love me.
I do.
And yeah, we're definitely not on the same side because all of my things on Facebook and Instagram are now like pregnancy things.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not there yet. Give me some fun videos.
Yeah, no, when I do see things that are like pregnancy things, it's like for a while now, there was this thing going around where these people would be like, I didn't know this would happen to me when I was pregnant. And then there was you'd go to a next video and it was someone scrolling in their notes app, reasons not to get pregnant. Or like it'll be like a screaming child and the caption will be like birth control.
Well, see, Joe will get like baby fever and he'll like want the baby or whatever. And then he'll see some child screaming out in public and he goes, ooh.
That comes with it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
comes with it.
Our kid won't do that though.
Uh-huh.
I say it now and we're going to try to manifest it.
Well, knowing you guys, you'll have a really calm first one.
Oh, absolutely.
And be like, oh my God, this was so easy. Let's have a second one and have just a freaking hellion for a second child.
That's what happened with me and my brother.
Yes.
I was the angel
Of
child.
course.
And then Jared came along.
Yeah.
Not so much the angel child.
Not even close.
Mm-mm.
Hellion.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Some would say.
Every sense of like the first child is like the angel one, and then you get tricked. And then you have your second.
Well, see, but they don't have cool Aunt Kens
That's true.
who's going to be whispering in their ear, be a fucking menace.
Do you want to come over?
Not if you're living in Winchester.
Oh my God. Eh.
Fucking Narnia.
Okay, if anyone who lives in this area understands, it's so freaking expensive.
I'm not saying it's not logical. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is it's 2 hours away from me.
An hour and a half, we just checked. Well, good thing we're not buying a house anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
We're here for a while.
Long, long while. Well, we could, actually, I don't even know if I could go in on a house with you guys.
Oh, how fun would that be?
We'd have to get a pretty big house.
That would be so fun.
It would be fun.
And Roy would be so happy.
I think Joe would hate himself. Like, I really think, I don't think either one of us would have a problem.
Oh, no, we'd have a grand time with
I
this.
think he would want to jump off the roof. Like, I think he could handle us.
I really don't think he could, but then we would really be elevating our relationship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm already going to start coming on family vacations when the kids are
Oh, yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah. So, because I am not missing a second.
Oh. Yeah, no, you're not.
So, and I used to go on the family vacations.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it'll be like a whole round circle.
You know,
Full
never
circle.
mind.
What?
You are on a roll today. Pun intended.
Oh, it's been a time.
Are you sure you're ready to read these?
I don't know, but we will try.
Okay.
All right. So because February is Black History Month, we're going to recognize the monumental, pun intended, Mackenzie, impact African Americans have had in shaping our nation. Specifically, we are going to focus on people from our nation's capital who influenced society, culture, and equal rights. In 1971, Benjamin Banneker was selected to be the official assistant surveyor in surveying what would be the nation's new capital. This made him one of the first official Black civil servants in the U.S. Banneker was a well-known astronomer, inventor, and surveyor who had printed one of the first...
Almanac.
That's not
That's
almanac.
not almanac. Almanac's series may refer to a soil type or a concert series or a PBS documentary.
Okay, so he was the one who printed the first in America. Banneker used his self-taught expertise to survey what would be the capital city and lay the city's boundary stones. The calculations done by Banneker were used by Major Pierre Charles Lefont to create the city plan for Washington, D.C., which Lafont Plaza, which included space dedicated for what would become the National Mall. Ida B. Wells Barnett, a prominent Black activist, played a significant role in the women's suffrage movement, standing up for African American women in the movement from which they were routinely excluded. At the women's suffragist procession down Pennsylvania Avenue in 1913, word spread that National Women's Party leader wanted the march to be segregated. The delegation of Illinois suffragists instructed Ida B. Wells Barnett, their only Black member, to go to the back of the procession. Instead, she stood along the parade route, and while the Illinois delegation appeared, Wells stepped out in front and led the Illinois suffragists for the rest of the procession, a statement that Black women were essential leaders in the fight for women's suffrage and must be recognized as such. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Ellington, 1899 to 1974. Oh my gosh, at work the other day, we were looking at houses just because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the houses I saw, I really, really like it. It's right around here, but it's like $837,000.
Sure.
And so I was like, yeah, oh my God, it's $387,000. And Brie looked at me and was like, what? And I was like, what? And I was like, nope, it's not that much. And I was like, I don't know why these numbers get mixed up. So Duke Ellington.
Too much.
Hmm?
I'm working too much.
It was 7 days in a row.
I know.
I hated myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so Duke Ellington was a legendary jazz pianist, composer, and bandleader born in Washington, D.C., where he developed his musical talents before rising to fame in New York during the Harlem Renaissance. Leading his orchestra for over 50 years, he revolutionized jazz with compositions like Take the A Train and Mood Indigo. Despite his global success, Ellington maintained deep ties to his hometown, which honored him with landmarks like the Duke Ellington School of the Arts and the Duke Ellington Bridge. In D.C.?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. His innovation style and enduring influence cemented him as one of the greatest figures in American music. I don't think I know either of those landmarks. I probably do, but I don't know what they're called. You know what I mean? Like, which bridge is it?
I think it's the one.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know his name, obviously, but I can't think of what this bridge is.
The only other bridge I can think of besides because I don't think it's the ones that go from Virginia into DC.
No, I don't think so.
But there's one, it kind of has like white arches over it. I think it's over by like the soccer stadium.
Hmm.
I could be wrong. Hold on. Oh, okay. That's so far off.
Which one is it?
It's like in the city, off of the George Washington Parkway.
Oh, near the National Mall,
Yeah. But it's like closer, I think, to the Maryland side. Yeah.
near the Point.
Yeah.
Go-go music, Washington, D.C.'s signature sound, emerged in the late 1960s and 70s, blending funk, jazz, and Latin rhythms with heavy percussion and call-and-response vocals. Chuck Brown, the godfather of go-go, pioneered the genre with hits like Bustin' Loose, creating a dance-driven style that remains central to D.C. culture. His rock and roll innovations influenced countless genres, including funk. In 2020, D.C. officially recognized go-go as its official music, ensuring its legacy lives on through bands like Rare, Essence, and Backyard Band. I didn't know that.
Same.
That's kind of cool. Industrial Bank, founded in 1934 in Washington, D.C., is one of the oldest and largest Black-owned banks in the United States. Established during the Great Depression by Jesse H. Mitchell, it was created to provide African Americans with access to financial services at a time when mainstream banks largely excluded them.
Slow down.
Over the decades...
You're reading so fast.
I'm sorry. Over the decades, Industrial Bank has played a crucial role in supporting Black businesses, home ownership, and community development in D.C. and beyond. Despite economic challenges, it has expanded its reach while maintaining committed to financial empowerment, making it a cornerstone of D.C.'s Black business community for nearly a century. I think I was reading fast because I was like, I'm on a roll. Don't stop or you're going to mess up. Howard University, founded in 1867 in Washington, D.C., is a prestigious, historically Black university, HBCU, that has played a pivotal role in African American education, leadership, and activism. Established with the goal of providing higher education opportunities to formerly enslaved individuals, it quickly became a center for Black intellectual and cultural advancement. Over the years, Howard has produced influential alumni, including Thurgood Marshall, Toni Morrison, and Kamala Harris, and has been a hub for civil rights activism. Known for its strong programs in law, medicine, and the arts, Howard continues to be a leading institution for Black scholarship and empowerment.
And that is some DC Black history.
Yeah.
Specifically. Yeah, this marks the last state facts.
I know!
Round 3.
Gosh, finished round 3.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So next week will be our first episode of round 4.
And my favorite thing, too, is when we would tell people about the show, and they were like, well, what happens when you cover all the states? It's like there's more than one scary thing in each state. And that goes to show we're going into round 4.
Round 4, baby.
Meaning that so far we found 6 scary things in each state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then some.
And then some.
And so our state facts will get darker. Dun, dun, dun. Dark history.
Oh, yeah. For the next, over a year.
Yeah, didn't we do all of it? And it's like literally...
We go well into next year.
Yeah, we go well into 2026.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we're going to have freshened Instagram posts that got a little new look to it. Kind of like, when a show gets like a new season, like a opener.
New opener, yeah.
That's us.
That's going to be us.
Because we're not going to... Well, we will also have a slightly new opening.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to say the state nickname of the state that we're doing.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we'll then tell you what the state is. Because I don't know if that's common knowledge.
I think there are 3 that are common knowledge. Like the Lone Star State, obviously Texas.
Sunshine State. Florida.
The Last Frontier.
Alaska.
Uh-huh.
I don't like ours.
What?
I don't like our state.
What are we?
The Old Dominion.
The Old Dominion State?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's kind of boring.
It's lame. And we have a bomb-ass flag. We have the best fucking flag.
Oh, we do have the best flag.
Like, our flag is so far superior than any other type of flag.
I agree.
I was telling my dad that, and he was like, why? I was like, because we got a lady with a titty hanging out.
And there's someone on the ground who she just defeated.
Correct. And it's a man.
Yes.
I will fucking riot.
They're going to change it.
I will fucking riot.
Because women should not have that high of a status.
Okay, but who came up with the Virginia flag? Probably the ancient founding fathers. And
the ancient founding fathers.
And they were definitely misogynistic. And so that's what they slap up there. Then...
Let's look up who designed the Virginia flag. I know we're not in Virginia, but we're in D.C., but it's close enough, so it's adjacent.
We are in Virginia.
but also our state is not. Oh, it was a man.
Exactly.
Charles Keck. He designed it in 1912.
Oh, so it's relatively new.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, it was based on Roman mythology.
That seems right.
And the little thing on it, our little motto,
Mhm.
is Sic Semper Tyrannis, which means thus always to tyrants. Meaning that we will defeat tyrants
Yeah,
with our boob out.
that's why the lady is staffing the man.
Yup. We love it.
Yes, everyone should have a lady with their titty hanging out stabbing a man on their flag. It's just top tier.
It is top tier, actually. All right, well, do you see?
Woohoo!
All right, Mackenzie, for our capital, what story do you have?
I have some, dark history.
Oh,
as they
okay.
say. When you think of Washington, D.C., what comes to mind?
The Capitol, the White House, monuments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe politics, monuments, museums, old shit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Murder? Sure. It's a major metropolitan city, after all.
Yeah. Scary.
What about a murder bay?
I don't think I've ever heard of Murder Bay.
Same, not until now. But definitely not. But more than 100 years ago, the area that we now know as Federal Triangle was once a grimy section of the city where murder was a daily occurrence.
Ugh.
An article from 1895 wrote, quote, by reason of the number of foul deeds discovered in the ramshackle precinct that the settlement was dubbed by police of the time Murder Bay.
Ugh.
As time rolled on, the locality proved itself more and more worthy of the name. Scarcely a week passed, but that some bloody, ghastly corpse, crushed with a club, stuck or slashed with a knife, or pierced by a bullet, was not pulled out of the place.
Was it like a bay?
No.
Oh. Misleading name.
To fish the body of a murdered man or woman out of the canal was an event so common that it evoked very little comment.
Oh, canal.
I don't know why they said bay, but
Bay sounds a lot scarier than murder canal.
Yeah. Like, we don't have a bay that close by.
No.
We have a river,
Yeah.
but we don't have a bay.
No.
So, Donald E. Press was an official of the Smithsonian, and his family had lived in the Washington for 6 generations.
Had lived in the Washington.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
I think I meant to say Washington area.
They lived in the Washington.
Oh, no. I wrote it right. I didn't say it right. Well, his family has lived in Washington for 6 generations.
There we go.
Okay. He wrote in a 1985 issue of the Record of Columbia Historical Society about Murder Bay and shared, quote, as the Civil War approached, Murder Bay prospered. Thousands of volunteer troops arrived in the city either on their way south or as garrison forces. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's something to do with the Civil War.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. For them, Murder Bay offered quick pleasure, cheap whiskey, and all too often a place to be mugged and robbed.
Oh, good.
From 1862 on, it was a tough neighborhood. Union Commander Major General Joseph Hooker had his army division set up outside the city. Hooker's men would flock to the bars and brothels on their time off. Press wrote, quote, to gain some control over the situation, General Hooker herded many of the local sex workers into the area south of Pennsylvania Avenue. As a result, the vicinity came to bear his name, Hooker's Division, for over half a century, and the women who worked there became known as hookers.
Is that really how the name came?
According to this guy.
Interesting.
I thought that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Dark history.
Dark history. After the war.
Well.
Murder Bay continued to be a place of misdeeds and misfortune. In 1908, a new building was built on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and 14th Street to house the government officials of D.C. So, like, this area was like, you could probably see it from the White House.
Yeah, because Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right. This building brought in a new type of crowd, such as engineers, accountants, lawyers, and other white-collar jobs. The new execs found a new lunchtime diversion by looking out the windows in nearby bedrooms as these pretty ladies started their day.
Oh my goodness. One time when Joe, he used to be a roofer and waterproofing and stuff, and they worked like on a building really close to the White House. And as they were up there doing their stuff, they like looked, and right down a little bit, like a ways down in like some apartment complex was some really, really attractive girl who would like get changed in the window knowing that Joe and all of his buddies were watching.
Ew.
I was like, oh my God.
I mean, good for her, but ew.
Yeah. So Joe was like, Laura, don't worry. I didn't watch, but everyone else did.
Liar.
But I was like, wow, to have that confidence.
Right. Well, I don't know if these women were purposefully getting dressed in the windows or if they just didn't have curtains.
Either one.
Either one.
Like right now, we don't have a curtain in this window.
True.
I had to put one up there because when I like go from my room into the bathroom, I walk right down the hallway in front of that window. And I was like, I'm showering. That's not a view I want others to see.
No. Press said, quote, then after work, some began to take a quick walk around the corner to visit the houses in person.
Oh.
News of these activities spread and in turn helped focus new attention on the local bawdy houses. His words, not mine.
Ugh.
In 1914, Congress finally passed a law outlawing houses of prostitution in D.C. This was the beginning of the end for Murder Bay. By the 1920s, Congress had adopted many of the plans that had been offered to transform the area into an enclave of federal buildings, monuments, museums, and parks. They authorized the purchase of land that had been Murder Bay/Hookers Division.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, this area came to house many federal departments and agencies. The Herbert Hoover Building, which houses the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Commerce. The National Archive Building.
Herbert Hoover?
Yes, he was president.
Yeah, I don't think that's the Commerce Building.
That's what Wikipedia said.
I think it's the FBI.
That's Edgar Hoover. Edgar J. Hoover.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard Hoover and I was like,
yeah. It's okay. When I first read it, I had the same thought, and then I realized they were talking about the president.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The National Archive Building, which my aunt used to work for them.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. The Robert F. Kennedy Department of Justice Building, which is the headquarters for the U.S. Department of Justice.
That makes a lot of sense, yes.
The Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center, which houses the headquarters for the U.S. Agency for International Development and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And a bunch of other buildings with important departments and shit in there, too.
I would assume, yeah.
But I just listed just some that sound really fancy.
Well,
but it's
sound
just
very fancy.
So ironic to me that it was once this very seedy, not good area, and now it's like of high prominence with these federal buildings and these monuments and like, the Smithsonian's and all that. So
of course,
it's just interesting. So I do have some crime stories.
Okay.
That were reported in the newspapers from way back when. Trigger warning, some of these stories are graphic.
I would assume so, with it being murder.
Yeah, but because it was also like 1888 or some shit like that, they were very descriptive.
They really were back then. Yeah.
They didn't leave anything to the imagination.
I mean, I can respect that.
Yes. But because that's not something we're typically used to in our newspapers, that's why I wanted to be like, it's graphic.
Correct.
So if you're not a fan of the icky, you might want to fast forward. Although you're going to miss all the good stuff because this is
the meat of the story.
Pretty much. One spring morning, police found a body of a soldier of a Pennsylvania regiment whose throat was cut and he had deep slashes across his abdomen and chest.
Yeah.
A knife had been plunged into his face with such strength that it had gone through the bone.
In his face?
His face.
Ugh.
There was a trail of blood that led away from the body, and the policemen followed it. The trail led to a little shanty on the edge of the canal, and the police followed it through the front door. They discovered a woman who, quote, as they entered, rolled on her side, gasped, and died.
Oh my God.
She had been horribly cut on her face, neck, and chest. And that's it.
Do we ever know who did it? Okay. Wow.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty much like the thing. Whether it was they just didn't look.
There's another one in this town.
Yeah, pretty much. One afternoon, a trunk was discovered off the bank of the canal. They also discovered a woman's head, arms, and legs that had been amputated with an axe in the canal. I believe the trunk belonged to this woman. It was kind of hard to figure out if the body parts were in the trunk or if there was other body parts in the trunk. But I'm pretty sure the trunk belonged to the woman, and there must have been body parts in it. And then they also found her head, her arms, and her legs.
So what body parts were in the trunk?
I don't know. It didn't say.
Oh.
So that's why I'm making an assumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of body parts.
But no clues to her murder were ever obtained. I don't even know if they knew who she was.
Ugh.
A fight had broken out at one of the local hotspots that ended up in several soldiers being killed. According to reports, it was related to when a woman named Maria Sauter had gotten into a disagreement with two other women who lodged with her. Sauter killed one of the girls with a hatchet and tied up the arms and legs of the other young girl and tortured her to death with a red-hot poker.
Oh my God.
According to the paper, quote, some of the people living in the next shanty avenged the poor girls, literally chopping Sauter into pieces.
Good.
But I don't think that person was the one who was in the trunk. It's two separate stories.
Two separate things.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be wild if it weren't?
The way that they describe the victims, it's not the same person.
Right.
A Washington Post article from 1888 said, quote, "One of the first murders about this time that brought attention to Murder Bay was the killing of a man named Rideout. He had gone into Murder Bay with his week's wages in his pocket and was found the next morning lying on the bank of the canal with his throat cut from ear to ear. No one knew how it occurred, nor did the efforts of the police result in finding a single clue to his murderer. Then began a series of crimes which continued for the next 4 or 5 years. Men were known to go into Murder Bay and were not heard of again until their bodies were discovered in the canal or found buried in ash dumps."
How this sounds to me is like every week they have to go check the canal to see if there's going to be a body in there.
Uh-huh. Well, there is.
Oh my God.
They really don't have to check it. They probably just wait for the call.
Ugh.
Yeah. Robberies of the most daring nature occurred in rapid succession. Men were carried from the streets into this locality and stripped of whatever they possessed, lucky indeed if they escaped with their lives, while fights between blacks and whites were constantly occurring. The locality abounded in dingy saloons, and the soldiers flocked there in numbers and added to the general disorder as they fought among themselves, crazed with the vile whiskey that was served to them. How many men lost their lives there is impossible to estimate. The police were powerless to suppress the disorder to detect the criminals, and many of the crimes were not even investigated. One of the last of the horror discovered there was the finding of a body of a young white woman buried beneath an ash heap. Her body was never identified, nor were her murderers ever discovered. In conclusion, told you it was short.
Yeah.
I highly recommend looking into the history of your local cities and seeing if they have any dark history hiding in the shadows.
And if they do, send it to us.
Yeah, because I was like, I literally typed in true crime, Washington, D.C., being very careful not to see yours. And we'd either already covered it
Yep.
or we'd already covered it. And then it was like something Murder Bay. I was like, Murder Bay?
Like, what is this?
So I looked into it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Have never heard of that before.
Yeah. I was like, that's some crazy history.
Yeah.
Very interesting too.
And it's like a nice way to kick off the
Yeah.
next season
The next
of
season,
the podcast.
because we're going to have all dark history things.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's going to be like that.
Well, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
So
interesting.
there you go. Yeah. If you have some dark history that like is not well known,
Which we love the not well known stuff.
right? Like, not something you're going to learn in school, feel free to send it to us and we can include it for your states.
Send it on Instagram,
Dark history facts.
Facebook.
Yeah. You don't have to like
Twitter,
send us the
X,
facts. You can just
whatever.
tell us the topic.
Or a scarystatepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, interesting.
What's spooky to you pouring, Lauren?
I got a murder case for you.
I had a Murder Bay.
Look at that. All right. Oh, I also asked Mom about this one if she had heard about this when I was like doing the research. And she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that.
I always forget she grew up around here.
Yeah.
What? I know you're going to tell us, but like what year?
2000.
Oh,
Yeah.
so when we were also alive.
Yes, we were. But we definitely wouldn't have been conscious enough to know about crime.
No, we were barely conscious enough to know about 9/11.
I do remember that though.
I do too, but I only remember not being picked up from school.
You were one of the kids who got to stay and watch movies.
I don't know what the fuck we did.
Oh.
That part I don't remember. I just remember thinking that. And, like noticing that like everyone was leaving and I was like, what the fuck? Why can't I go home?
I mean, my
And that's
parents
literally
even
my
said
only.
like some of the schools like were probably the safest place to be,
Yeah.
which is why I know a lot of people kept their kids at school.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to this case.
Yeah.
So 24-year-old Chandra Levy finally got the job she had been going for. She was working in D.C. as an intern. Levy had grown up in Northern California with her parents Bob and Susan and younger brother Adam. She was fun-loving and playful, a bossy older sister. She played Little League and loved the San Francisco Giants. Levy had gotten her undergrad in journalism, where she had managed to work for the state of California at the governor's office and had also worked for the mayor of LA. Then, as part of her master's program in public administration at the University of Southern California, she had scored an internship with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So she moved to the nation's capital in fall of 2000.
Good for her.
She was working towards a promising career with the FBI.
That's awesome.
I know.
Like, what was she doing? Do you know? Did it say?
No.
I know it was, she got her degree in journalism, but I wasn't sure if she was.
So yeah, her undergrad was in journalism. Her master's was public administration.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
She probably wasn't going to be an agent for the FBI, but the
Yeah.
FBI, I don't know if they're still a thing anymore. But
The FBI?
I'm sure he's trying to get rid of it.
I thought we have the new director who, like, has, like, a vendetta, I guess, for people who I think people are saying, like, I don't know, he got prosecuted for something, and so people are thinking that he's gonna go after all the people that prosecuted him.
I don't know. But anywho,
Yeah.
she might be like the FBI always needs people like accountants
Like
and
civilian.
y- yeah, but you'd still be
Right.
with the FBI, but it's things that aren't like special investigator kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like secret
Yeah.
agent or whatever you are.
Yeah.
So it was probably something towards that with maybe the public admin thing,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
like more administrative
Yeah.
type stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
She even had a little apartment near DuPont Circle. I know. I know.
It's also 2000.
Right. She graduated from USC in December of 2000, but stayed in DC through the spring. She had planned to return to California in May of 2001 to walk in her graduation ceremony back at USC. After that, she was going to decide what to do next, but most likely she would move back to DC to look for a job, either applying to the FBI or looking into law school. Chandra Levy went missing on Tuesday, May 1st, 2001. At first, her family tried not to suspect anything, thinking that maybe she took off somewhere, but they knew that wasn't like her. When they couldn't get a hold of her, they started to panic.
Especially because wasn't she supposed to go back for graduation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's supposed to go back, like she's going to be walking in May.
Yeah.
So this was May 1st.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Investigators quickly got involved and eventually went to her apartment where they found a full-packed suitcase clear that she was in the middle of packing because she was going home.
Right.
On her computer, they found that she had researched a visit to DC Rock Creek Park. The park was searched, but nothing was found. The park is vast, though, twice as big as Central Park in New York. Rock Creek Park is 1,754 acres, while Central Park is only 843. Do you know where Rock Creek Park is?
Nope.
Me either.
I always see the signs.
For it.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Back in her
I think
apartment.
that's just like the road, not the actual park.
Well, it's a huge park, so it has to be somewhere around here.
Yeah.
Back in her apartment, police stated that only her keys and a ring were missing, but her ID, credit cards, and cell phone were still in the apartment. After her disappearance, Susan, her mother, tried to find clues by looking through Chandra's phone bill. The bill showed that she had been calling one number often. That number was the office number that belonged to Gary Conduit, a married congressman from her hometown in California.
Mm.
From that, rumors started to swirl that Levy had been dating Conduit, a man who was 28 years her senior.
Mm.
Conduit represented California's 18th congressional district. He was also
married.
He was married. He was also a senior member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and from 1972 to 2000, he had never lost an election.
Well, that's gonna change.
It did change. That's why it says to 2000. It is believed that the two met when Levy and a friend had visited his office and he gave them a tour of the Capitol. It is believed that, as their affair progressed, Levy started to really isolate herself. They were only able to meet after hours, so most of her free time after her internship was spent with Conduit. Her life at the time had been go to work, go back home, then go to Gary's house. Conduit was interviewed several times by police during the course of the investigation.
Like I've heard about this.
You probably have.
Yeah.
Because when I was telling Mom this, she was like, oh, she had like a thing with the congressman. I said, yes, she did.
Like I feel like I don't know what happens. I have an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I definitely think I remember hearing something.
You probably did.
Yeah.
With an intense investigation going, Conduit insisted that he had never hurt Levy, had nothing to do with her disappearance, and that he was not even having a romantic relationship with her.
Liar!
He denied having a relationship with her completely. Though he was never named an official suspect in the investigation, he still voluntarily gave police a saliva swab. When the swab was tested, it actually came back that it did match DNA that had been found in a pair of underwear found at Levy's apartment. Conduit's apartment was searched, however, he was later cleared as a suspect.
What?
So he was never like a full suspect, but they still looked into him, but he was cleared from ever being considered an official
Even though he
suspect.
fucking lied?
I guess they didn't care about that part,
Obviously.
because he was probably a rich congressman.
Mm-hmm.
Conduit maintained that he wasn't having an affair with Levy, but years later, Levy's mother would say that she believed that, quote, there was definitely something going on between my daughter and him. Though he was never named a suspect, he did become the center of a media circus.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Oh, yeah. In August of 2001, Gary Conduit agreed to do an interview with ABC News' Connie Chung. 24 million people tuned in. Conduit said he did not harm or kill Chandra Levy and that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. But when asked if he had a sexual relationship with her, he repeatedly refused to answer. Quote, I've been married for 34 years, he said. I've not been a perfect man and I've made my share of mistakes, but out of respect for my family and out of a specific request from the Levy family, I think it's best I not get into those details about Chandra Levy. End quote.
I highly doubt her family would be like, "No, we don't want people to know that she had an affair with you."
Right. Like, we want that to be on the silent. Like,
Like,
no,
no.
no. After many interviews, Brad Garrett, who had interviewed Gary Conduit, said that eventually Conduit did admit to investigators that he had an affair with Chandra and that, quote, that typically he would see her after hours. Still, though, he was never named a suspect. In August of 2001, a jailhouse informant told police of a man named Ingmar Guandike, who had admitted to killing the missing girl, Chandra Levy.
But they still haven't found her yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we get this jailhouse informant in August of 2001.
Okay.
On May 22nd, 2002,
Okay.
the body of Chandra Levy was found in a remote area of Rock Creek Park, 4 miles from her apartment, by a man out walking his dog.
So like a year later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just over a year later. Her skeletal remains were found in a steep embankment with jogging pants with knots tied at their bottoms found on the body. So this immediately led police to believe that foul play had been involved. So there's a picture, and the pants, like both of the legs of the pants, have been tied into a knot.
Like around her ankles or like together?
It just shows in the picture, the pants aren't on her
Oh, okay.
in the picture, and it's like this leg has been tied, like the right leg has been tied into a knot, and the left leg has been tied into a knot, but not together.
Oh, okay.
So individually tied.
And that they found that, but when they found her, that was on her.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Dr. Jonathan L. Arden, Washington, D.C.'s medical examiner at the time, concluded that Levy's cause of death could not be determined, but noted that, quote, the circumstances of her disappearance and her body on recovery are indicative that she died through the acts of another person, which is the definition of a homicidal manner of death.
Yeah.
So they're not they can't figure out what happened because it's been a year, but they're
Right.
saying everything that happened coincides with it being a homicide.
Yeah.
For years, no arrests were made in the death of Chandra Levy until 2009. Police finally charged Ingmar Guandike with the murder. Guandike had already been convicted and was serving 10 years for having attacked two women, Hale Schilling and Christy Weigand, at knife point in Rock Creek Park around the same time that Levy had disappeared. One attack had been in early July 2001 and the other in mid-May 2001. I don't know why I said it in that way, so May and July. With Chandra having disappeared on May 1st, 2001. His trial relied heavily on the testimony of a cellmate, Armando Morales, who testified that Guandike confessed to killing Levy, but saying that he didn't rape her. The confession had originally taken place in August of 2001.
Okay.
Like I said a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
The article said that the jailhouse informant, who I assume is Morales, befriended Guandike in prison, and that is when he confessed to the murder. He said that Gary Conduit had actually paid him to do it. He said he had been walking in Adams Morgan when a car pulled up to the curb. The man inside offered him $25,000 to kill a woman.
Oh my God.
The man provided Guandike with the woman's photo and location where he could find her.
I wonder if she was pregnant.
I don't know. Actually, when I was searching how to pronounce her name, one of the, you know how it will do predict a question?
Yeah.
It said, was she pregnant?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I mean, I know they it's like, oh, I want you to leave your wife, blah, blah, blah. But
I don't know. And honestly, it never goes into if she was or not. So I don't assume she was.
yeah.
Or I don't know,
Or they
honestly.
maybe they weren't able to tell either.
Maybe.
If not that it can be ruled out, but not ruled in either.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Guandike told the informant that he took drugs and drank alcohol to steal himself for the attack. Guandike went to the location that Conduit
So
gave.
he's now admitting he did it. Or
This is what Morales is saying Guandike told him.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because he's our informant. So
Right,
this
right.
is what he's telling
Okay.
happened.
Okay.
So this is all what he's saying Guandike told him.
Got it.
So Guandike went to the location, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, and I apologize, but it looks like Guandike.
Yeah.
And when I said the name, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds right. And I didn't want to watch any news article. I just read articles. I didn't listen to anything.
Yeah.
So Guandike went to the location that Conduit gave him, which was Rock Creek Park, and he saw Chandra running on a path. Guandike hid in the bushes. When he saw her, he ran up behind her, grabbed her from behind by the neck, and dragged her into the bushes. By the time he got her to the bushes, she had stopped struggling. Morales said that Guandike then stole Levy's fanny pack and left, but he never meant to kill her. What?
Well, if he had just left her there and she was only 4 miles from her house, they would have found her a year ago.
Maybe.
She's not that far.
She's not far. And they said they searched the park, too.
Right. You would have found her.
Yeah.
She might not have been in plain sight, but she definitely wasn't out of sight.
Yeah, I mean, it said when they found her, she was down a steep embankment.
Yeah, but if that runner guy found her, saw her,
A guy walking his dog.
whatever.
Right.
Like,
If you're walking your dog, you're not on some, like, random path. Like, you're not in some, like, treacherous wilderness.
right. So, like,
Um,
already it's sketched that, like, it took a year. Like, to me, I'm already under the assumption that she was put there later.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's not a thing I read anywhere. Yeah.
So they really just thought they missed it for a year.
I have no idea what they thought. Morales said that
It's
Guandique
also
found
like, why the fuck would the pants be tied?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
So Morales said that Guandique found out that Levy had died while in jail in connection with the 2 attacks. So he was already in jail for those 2 other attacks.
Mhm.
As he's in jail, that's when he finds out that Levy's body had been found and that she was dead.
Okay. Is that what he's saying?
This is what Morales is saying about Guandique.
So he didn't intend to kill her?
Correct. Apparently.
Even though that's what he was paid to do.
Another report said that Morales said that Guandique told him that when he attacked Chandra, he stabbed her in the neck and stomach. So we have one report saying that he doesn't believe that he killed her. Like, he didn't know that he killed her and he was shocked when he found out. This other one is saying that he stabbed her in the neck and stomach.
But if this guy's story is true, why would he be shocked if he was literally paid to do it?
Right. Keep these thoughts.
Okay.
So he's saying that with this second story, when he stabbed her in the neck and stomach, when she fell to the ground, he carried her body far into the woods. He dug a hole with his hands and covered Chandra with dirt, leaves, and sticks. He left the knife in her body and had later considered coming back to retrieve it, but never did. Guandique then apparently sent that $25,000 to his family back in El Salvador. So apparently, Guandique had also not gone to work the day of Chandra's disappearance. His landlady also said that she remembered seeing scratches on his face that same day.
Track the money.
If it's cash, you're not going to be able to track it.
Yeah, but it's got to come from someone's bank account.
True.
Why am
See,
I doing a better job?
I was just going to say, I think we'd be better investigators than this. Like, okay, we got to track the money. Okay, we got to check this out. They don't do any of that. And I read articles, and none of these things were mentioned in any of these articles.
That's crazy and stupid.
Evidence found with Chandra's remains suggests that she was attacked in a way almost identical to his surviving victims. And investigators supposedly found a photograph of Chandra among Guandique's belongings, which would be interesting if Conduit did give him the photo of Chandra
So he knew who it was.
and be like, this is who it is.
Yeah.
In 2010, Guandique was convicted and sentenced to 60 years in prison. He continued to maintain his innocence, saying that he, quote, never had any contact with Levy. Even since the beginning, Guandique had passed an FBI-administered lie detector test.
I don't think he did it.
In 2015, his conviction was actually overturned, though after
I think that's why I feel like I've heard of this.
maybe
Yeah.
it was after concerns of his cellmate's credibility came out, so Morales.
Yeah, the story doesn't make any sense.
Right. Guandique's attorneys argued that Morales had lied on the stand when he denied cooperating with law enforcement in the past, saying that Morales had a history of working with law enforcement and it was the prosecutor's responsibility to know that and tell the defense. So they're saying that Morales said he's never cooperated with law enforcement, but he has. So straight up, there he lied.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes into questions his credibility on anything else he said.
Right.
Because if you're lying now on the stand, what else have you lied about?
Sure.
Guandique's new trial was to begin in 2016, but before it could, secret recordings from an unlikely source came to light. A woman named Babs Proler, or Proler,
Love that.
told authorities.
Babs. Hell yeah. What a
Babs.
name.
She told authorities that Morales wasn't honest in his testimony regarding Guandique's confession. Proler, I'm just going to call her Babs. I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Mhm.
Babs said that she had met Morales earlier that past summer when they were both staying at a hotel in Maryland. They formed a friendship, and Morales and Babs would take her dog on walks together where they got to know each other. Babs said that Morales told her that he had been released after spending more than 20 years in prison for, quote, gang-related, drug-related charges. Babs said that after a bit, Morales confessed to her that the prosecutors had wanted him to lie. He said that they knew that they had the right guy, they just needed somebody to say it. And Morales became that somebody. She had secretly recorded their entire confession. So
How did she know to do that?
she and him had gone to, okay, so I didn't include this part because I didn't feel like typing it at the time, but I can tell you now. So they became really close friends.
Mhm.
And she went on vacation somewhere and she was like, hey, can you watch my dog? Yes. So as he's watching the dog, he either took a picture or said something to her that he would have only known if he had been able to break into her locked file cabinet that had all of her personal information. So he gets this information, which immediately made her start not trusting him. She's like,
Okay.
you're in my house. I trust you. Like, we're friends. I trust you to be in
Sure.
my house, and now you're breaking into my stuff.
Yeah.
So they had to go to a storage unit to do something. And so as they're going to the storage unit, she's like kind of trying to like get information about this murder, like because she knows he's the informant.
Mm-hmm.
And so as she's doing this, as they're at the storage unit, she's secretly recording it.
Oh.
And so she's like talking to him, they're getting information, but she's recording it the whole time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep. So she called Morales, quote, a master of manipulation who can convince you of anything, and that his motive for lying was to be moved to another prison. So the informant Morales did eventually take an FBI-administered lie detector test, which he ended up failing.
Mm.
The test showed that the informant was deceptive when he answered yes to 2 questions. 1, did Guandike tell you he stabbed Chandra Levy? And 2, did Guandike tell you he received $25,000 from a congressman to stab Chandra Levy? And so he answered yes to both of those.
But it was a lie.
But it was a lie.
Yeah.
So it was deceptive. In July of 2016, a judge dismissed charges against Guandike at the request of prosecutors. He was never retried as prosecutors believed they could no longer prove the case against him without a reasonable doubt, so overall they just opted to not retry the case at all.
I mean, makes sense.
His charges were dropped without prejudice, meaning he could be charged again in the future, but right now he's not being charged. So according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, Guandike was a documented member of MS-13, and in 2017 he was deported back to El Salvador. Levy's case remains unsolved. But I'm not done. So we need to back up a bit, back to 2001 again.
Okay.
Thank you. That summer was when news of Chandra Levy going missing was everywhere, but few people knew about another Washington, D.C. intern, Joyce Chiang, who had mysteriously disappeared 2 years before Chandra.
Oh.
Sadly, her case received very little media attention. But the similarities between the two are disturbing. Both women, Joyce and Chandra, lived in the same neighborhood, DuPont Circle area. They worked for the same government agency, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and they were both young, brunette, and petite. With these similarities...
Did they both know the same congressman?
No, but there is a part that I'll get to in a second, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
So with these similarities, investigative reporter Timothy Mayer believes that the similarities maybe mean that the 2 incidents had been committed by the same perpetrator. Who is Joyce Chiang? I think that's how you pronounce the last name. It's like Chiang, kind of. So I'll say Chiang so that it's more correct, I guess. She was the only daughter of a very close-knit Taiwanese-American family. When she was in college, she had an internship with Representative Howard Berman of California, which I think is interesting that they both had some sort of internship with
a congressman from California.
Yeah. She was described by others as being very cheerful. She had a wonderful personality and was the kind of person to light up a room. Never light up a room. After her internship, she remained in D.C. and started working with INS, Immigration Naturalization Service, as a lawyer. She lived in the DuPont Circle area with her brother Roger. Down the street from her apartment was a Starbucks that, incidentally, both her and Chandra would hang out at.
Never mind. Keep going. I have a theory.
And I think this Starbucks is the one that when we were in D.C. for Pride, we went to the bathroom in it.
Huh.
I think that's the D.C.
Wow.
Like, that's the Starbucks. Yeah.
That's
because we were in DuPont Circle.
Were we?
I think so.
Were we?
I think so.
We might have been.
I think we were in DuPont Circle because we had mistaken that's where the parade was going to go after they had changed locations of the parade route.
Right.
Which no one listened to me when I said.
No one listens to me either.
So we're just there. But anywho, I think that's the same Starbucks.
Yeah.
So this was the last place that Joyce was seen on January 9th, 1999. According to her brother, earlier that evening, Joyce was planning to meet up with some friends for a movie and dinner. At 8:15 p.m., Joyce was with her friend Kathy, as Kathy had agreed to give Joyce a ride home after the activities. But Joyce asked if they could make a quick stop at Starbucks so she could grab a cup of tea. So Kathy dropped Joyce off at Starbucks, as Joyce had told Kathy that after she got her tea, she could make her 4-block walk home to her apartment, but she never made it home. When she didn't return home, her brother Roger immediately called the police, and due to Joyce being a federal employee, the FBI quickly became involved, but at first the investigation turned up nothing. Though it wasn't broadcast nationally, it did get local media attention, which is what brought about the first clue in the case. After the local media coverage, a couple contacted the FBI. 4 days prior, on January 10th, a couple had been walking through Anacostia Park when they found a wallet. Inside contained Joyce's government credit card. They turned in the card to the park police, who put in the lost and found. When the couple saw the story about Joyce, that is when they called the FBI. Immediately, a 57-member search and rescue crew was formed to scour the area where the wallet had been found. That is when other items of Joyce's were found on the banks of the Anacostia River, to include her apartment keys, video rental card, remember video rental cards, and the jacket she had last been seen wearing, though the jacket had a large rip in it. The river was also searched, but nothing else was found. Tell me your theory now. The one that you didn't say like 2 seconds ago.
Well, my conspiracy theory
Okay.
is that she also had a secret affair with an important person
Mm.
and something happened. She gets disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
This new congressman is like, shit, I'm in a sticky situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so his congressman mentor is like, hey, here's what I did.
Oh, you think the congressmen are related, like somehow?
Yeah, like not that they like both knew the same person or whatever, but like it was like this other congressman had to get out of a sticky situation, so that's how he did it.
And then someone else is saying, hey, this is how that guy got out of it.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think so because I don't think Joyce is having any weird stuff going on
That we know of.
that we know of. But I just don't think so because with
Doesn't sound like they investigated anything pretty well, so who knows?
so with Chandra, we knew that there was we thought that there was maybe something going on.
We
With
know
Joyce,
there's
there's not even an inkling of it.
Okay. Well,
But who knows?
still.
So nothing happened with the case for 3 more months until a gruesome discovery was made. A canoeist, person canoeing.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Was paddling more than 8 miles downstream from where Joyce's personal item had been found. On the shore, near where the canoeist was, a body lay. DNA tests were needed to identify the body as it had clearly been underwater for quite a while, and when the test came back, it was confirmed to be the body of Joyce Chiang. Due to the conditions that the body had been in, it was impossible to determine the cause of death, so it was listed as undetermined. And without any evidence of foul play, investigators felt that there was nothing else they could do for the case, so they closed it.
How is that not evidence of foul play?
We'll get into why they don't think it's foul play. So 2 years later, in May of 2001, Chandra Levy went missing. Her case actually renewed media interest in Joyce.
Okay.
The similarities I talked about at the beginning were chilling to many, and people started to speculate what had happened to her. Police tried to suggest publicly that Joyce may have committed suicide. So that's why she's in the water. There's
Why
no
would
foul
you
play.
leave your shit scattered?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. You just wouldn't bring it with you.
I'll get to that
Okay.
because that's a point too. But to Joyce's family and friends, this was immediately wrong. She never had a history of depression, and she worked very hard in life with a lot to live for. Her friend Amy said that saying Joyce committed suicide was an injustice to her. And questions about this supposed suicide started to come out. How would she have gotten to the location where her body was found?
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 miles away from where her stuff was found, and no public transportation went there. She didn't have a
Right.
car, so she would have had
Did
to
she
be
swim?
right. Why were her belongings left on the bank of the Anacostia?
Yeah.
None of this equaled that Joyce brought herself to the
And it like wasn't in one spot though. At least it didn't sound like it. It sounded like it was
It sounded like
scattered.
it was scattered a little bit.
Yeah, like what?
Because the couple found the wallet, they didn't find anything else.
Right.
So it doesn't mean like everything wasn't in a nice, neat pile.
Why was her jacket ripped?
Right. And it's also like, so what? Did she commit suicide by putting rocks in her pockets and walking into the water? No.
No.
No one's going to choose drowning as their preferred, not no one, but most people wouldn't choose drowning as their preferred form of suicide if they're going to commit suicide because that's hard to do.
Right. And I feel like if her stuff was found on the bank, it'd be like in a neat pile.
Right.
Because it would have been like deliberate that she put it there.
Yep. So none of this equaled that Joyce brought herself to the Anacostia to commit suicide by drowning. And no one's going to want to go into the Anacostia.
That
It's
alone-
disgusting.
That alone can kill you.
Right.
So-
Right. So no one's going to be like, that's the water. That's where it's going to happen. No.
No.
I had a friend, was it one of our friends or maybe it was one of my work friends? Anywho, they were slightly intoxicated and they were riding one of their bikes in DC and it was like had been icy and snowy and stuff and they took a turn and the bike skidded out from them and they almost fell into the Anacostia because they were riding right by it, but they ended up like skidding to a stop. They were like, I almost died. Like if I had gone in that water, I'd be dead.
Yep.
Because that water
It's not good.
is going to kill you.
Yeah.
So
maybe that would have been her motive, knowing that it's very toxic water. So it might have
but
been
that would
easier.
be a slow, painful one.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I agree. I think there's a lot easier ways
Yeah.
to do it.
So one thing I didn't mention yet. 3 days after Joyce went missing, a bizarre statement appeared on a wall close to her apartment. It read, quote, "Good day, JC. May I never miss the thrill of being near you." Joyce's brother believes that the JC is referring to his sister.
Like it was written like in like with like spray
like graffiti.
paint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Spray paint.
Graffiti.
Like graffiti. So her brother believes that the JC is referring to his sister, Joyce Chiang,
Mhm.
and that it was a foreboding clue that his sister was murdered. Comments on unsolved.com said that, quote, that the "May I never miss the thrill of being near you" is a lyric from Paul McCartney's song No More Lonely Nights.
Mm.
But that "good day, JC" is kind of weird.
Yeah.
We don't have anything else about that. it was just something that her brother was like, this weird thing happened, but the police like didn't take it into consideration. They didn't think it was a big deal at all. Hence more of them not looking into it.
I mean, who knows? It could just be pure coincidence.
It could be.
There's JC could be standing for anything,
Right.
but it's also like given what just recently occurred,
3 days after she went missing.
right? Like look into it.
That's weird.
Right.
Yes.
Like at the very least, like cross it off.
Right.
You know, even if you're like, I knew it was nothing, like at least be able to say that.
Yep. Be able to just cross everything off.
Yeah.
So you've checked all the boxes. Roger, her brother, and many others believe that a serial killer may be responsible for not only Joyce and Chandra's murder, but one additional girl as well. Christine Mirzayan disappeared 5 months before Joyce. She was 28 years old and had been raped and murdered while walking home from a barbecue. And Christine fit the same description as Chandra and Joyce. She lived in DuPont, had dark hair, and was about the same height as Chandra and Joyce. She had even worked as an intern in D.C. When she disappeared, she had actually just left a fellow intern's house. As for Christine, DNA testing had linked her death to the Potomac River rapist who raped several young women in the Washington, D.C. area during the 1990s. On November 4th, 2019, 60-year-old Giles Daniel Warwick was arrested in connection with her murder and the assault of several other women. But just 11 days before the murder trial was to begin, Warwick was found dead of a suspected suicide inside his D.C. jail cell on November 19th, 2022.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so that guy was the Potomac River rapist. And like when I was reading articles from like unsolved.com from like years before, they had no idea who this rapist guy was. They were like, the Potomac River rapist, like we don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Like we're still trying to figure it out. And then as I was reading articles, you start to see that they figured out who it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like interesting.
Yeah.
Joyce's case has since been closed again. Police believe
Why?
that they have identified, I don't know. So police believe they have identified 2 D.C. male, Neil Joaquin and Stephen Allen, who abducted Joyce and took her to the Anacostia where they intended to rob her. Police believe that Joyce
would
tried.
You take someone so far away to rob them?
I don't know.
Like,
I
that
mean,
doesn't make any sense.
I mean, at nighttime, people probably aren't on the banks of the Anacostia.
I mean, yeah, but like, I don't know. It's just not the first thing I would think of
Me
for
either.
2 men to do to a woman.
Me either.
So.
Police believe that Joyce tried to run from her captors but slipped on ice and fell into the river where she drowned.
What?
Or that she was potentially pushed into the water by the men. That's their theory. So they closed the case.
What?
Yeah. Allen is currently in federal prison serving a life sentence for an unrelated crime. Joaquin is believed to be in Guyana after being deported in 2006. Guyana has no extradition treaty with the U.S. So more or less kind of a dead end with these two because one's already in prison and one can't come back to the U.S.
Right.
So, like, what do? You can't really do anything. So I think that's why they closed it. But it's like...
But, like, just because a lead comes to an end doesn't
mean you should close it.
Right.
Yeah. In 2011, Joyce's case was officially changed from suicide to homicide, though Allen and Joaquin had never been charged with Joyce's murder. And still, no one has been charged with her murder. So we have Chandra and Joyce, 2 girls who fell into very, very similar circumstances, and we have no conclusion for what happened to them. And their cases are always linked together because of just the weird similarities between the 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like DC interns, young women living in DuPont.
I'm not sure if I think there's a serial killer, though.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a serial killer. Obviously, Christine was with the serial killer. What? What is that face?
What if Congress guy wants to get rid of Chandra, remembers the Joyce one, and is like, oh, I'll make it look like that so that no one suspects it's like random. It's like, oh, it's like this other one, so they're probably connected, like that kind of thing. Because yes, they were both interns in DC, but they didn't work for the same.
No, they didn't. But they both no, they didn't. Because Chandra was like prison, FBI kind of side of things. Joyce was more like immigration and naturalization side of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my mom remembered this case. Her coworkers remembered this case. Like, it was like a big deal.
Yeah, well, when a woman goes missing and she's having an affair with a congressman.
A big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Damn. And he just is living his life.
Yeah. Yeah, he's...
Probably not his best life.
No. So I read a lot of the articles were talking about, like, his son kind of talking about the case. Like, Gary Conduit's son. And so his son was saying, like, you know, he last got elected in 2000. He hadn't been elected after that because of the whole situation.
Mhm.
Like, people were coming to our house all the time trying to talk to him, and he wouldn't talk to them. And he, like, is convinced his dad didn't do it, which obviously.
Yeah.
So he's, like, full on the path that his, like, dad didn't do it. Mom
And
is still married to him. Like,
okay, I
wife
was
is
just
still
about
with
to ask that,
him.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's kind of sketchy if she's calling him all the time.
And then she just stops.
But I mean, it's just like the whole thing is like was calling all the time. I would only see him after hours in his office. So it's like, yeah, something's probably going on there.
And he lied about it.
And he lied about it.
And he continued lying. Like, it wasn't even like he lied. I could see him lying initially. Who's going to admit to an affair?
Right.
Like, duh. But then,
especially an affair with someone who was just murdered
correct.
or went missing.
Yes. And you're like a congressman.
Right.
But then your DNA comes back that it's in her fucking panties.
Right.
And you're still going to try to lie.
Right.
Bro.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, if he had been like, okay, yeah, I had one, I would feel more 50-50 whether or not he did it. But because he like really was just trying to hold on to that lie,
It makes it really, really sketchy.
it's so sketchy.
Yeah. It's like once you lie about something like this, your credibility goes away.
Especially when he said like her family like didn't want him talking about things. It was,
Right.
like, bullshit.
Oh, her mom was like on all the TV stations. Like, she was pushing for this to get solved,
Of
which
course.
obviously as a mom you're going to be.
Yeah. So they're both still unsolved.
Technically classified. Yeah, still is unsolved.
Doesn't even really sound like it was investigated.
I mean, they feel they have the suspects for both of them, but nothing has been officially charged.
And obviously, I know not the one who was like deported, but the one who's in jail, has he said anything? Like,
at least not what I found.
Like yes or no? Obviously, he hasn't said yes, or else they would have charged him, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like they might not have even questioned him because he's already in jail.
So how did these guys even come up then?
I don't know. I didn't find how they came up. Like, because so this stuff had been more recent, like where they were finding all of this information about the two men, because like I read the unsolved.com article.
Right.
And they didn't know anything else. Like, they didn't know anything.
Okay.
And then I read another article that was a little bit more new,
Yeah.
and that's when they had these two identified men.
But we don't know where they got that
Nope.
from.
Nope. We don't. We just know that they have identified two DC area men.
A credit card was found, but not her whole wallet.
No, her whole wallet was found, but they knew that it belonged to Joyce because of the government credit card in there.
So if it was a robbery.
And it's suspicious that her jacket was cut. Like, it's just so many suspicious things.
Like, I could see her being attacked at the river and thrown in. I could see it like she is unconscious and gets thrown in and then drowns. But not to be robbed because all her shit was there.
Right. Exactly.
I feel like her jacket could have gotten ripped and was off because she was trying to run away.
Same.
Or else why would she have taken her jacket off?
Right. But yeah, so those are the cases of Joyce and Chandra.
That's crazy.
I know. I hadn't heard of these. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to say, I think I heard. I didn't hear about these.
There's like a something.
Like that inkling in the back of your mind.
I was like,
I heard
seen
about
this come across somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I know you don't know the answer to this, but I'm thinking like the phone calls. When was the last phone call? Like, was this affair going on up until she disappeared?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or had it been like over?
See, we need to get into these cold case teams.
Right. Well, like
you're asking all the right questions.
I get it's a sticky situation with a congressman and you're probably not given a lot of leeway with things. But to just completely be like, nope, he didn't do it.
Yeah. And after lying and then admitting, like, being caught in his lie.
And just, like, not investigating that any further.
I know.
Like,
I feel like there are a lot of shortcomings from the police.
Like, I would have been digging through her trash, trying to see if, like, she had a pregnancy test somewhere.
I feel like the mom did a lot. Like, she was really trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But again, as a civilian, we can only do so much.
I just don't get why her pants were tied.
I don't know. I don't either.
I don't know if you know this. Was she, like, fully clothed, or was it just the pants?
I think she was fully clothed, but I'm not 100% sure.
But it was like, but the pants stick out because they were tied
yes.
at the bottom.
Yep. So that's the part that was talked about. It wasn't talked about her. But I mean, also at the same time, it didn't say she was unclothed. or I would have included that. They just didn't say she was fully clothed, but her pants were tied. I think because they didn't say she wasn't clothed, then it meant she was.
Yeah. So, like, if you saw a picture of it and it was still tied in the knot, my, like, first thinking of it, because I was like, I think she was dumped later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think someone could dig a hole with their hands.
No.
I think that'd take way too much time. And you're gonna, like, no.
Yeah, no.
Like, no.
It takes people forever with a shovel.
Right. But I was thinking when you said the pants were tied that someone, like, dressed her. And because she's a skeleton at this point, because it's been a year, and thinking, like, tied it, at the bottom so that, like, they didn't come off or whatever.
So describe what you're seeing of the pants, because we are a visual or a audio platform.
Yeah, she definitely was fully clothed, because here's the shirt. So the pants are tied, like, I would say not even at the bottom. Oh, unless they're just not laid out. Because it looks like to me that they're tied towards the top.
I'd say knees. They look like they're tied at the knee.
And she was wearing these.
I guess that's what the article said. Or she was found with them. Let me see what wording I used.
Because, like,
Her skeletal remains were found in a steep embankment with jogging pants with knots tied at their bottoms, found on the body. So yeah, I guess found on the body.
I don't know. To me, it feels like they were tied this way to, like, keep them on her body
Maybe.
when she was dumped.
Maybe. It could be. We have no idea.
But regardless, like, that's fucking weird.
It is. But yeah, so there we are, capping it off with the Capitol. 3 rounds through.
That's crazy. Capital be wildin'.
It be wildin'.
It'll be wildin'. It's crazy times.
Crazy times.
People
Social
can't
media.
even, like, call and say, like, hey, I have information.
I guess they probably could.
Because, like, do they also consider Chandra's, like, is the case closed or whatever?
I think no. I don't know about the status of her case.
Okay.
I don't think it's solved though, because
Well, I know it's not solved, but I didn't know if
Right.
they closed it.
I don't know. I don't think hers is closed because there was nothing that said it was closed.
Yeah.
It just said it's been it's unsolved.
Okay. But the other one's closed.
The other one's closed technically. In all of the cases, they think they have their suspects. They just don't have that like final nail in the coffin to say it is.
Do police also think that these two are connected? No, because why would one be closed and the other not?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just people have wanted to connect them because of all the similarities between the two.
Which is fair, but sometimes there's no correlation.
Right.
Like two things can be true and there be. Because I'm like, why is this one still being investigated, but the other not? It seems like that one was only like reinvestigated because the people were like, hey, this sounds really weird.
Yep. That's why it drew more attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming given her last name, Joyce was Asian.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And Chandra's white.
Correct.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which could also be why the one with Joyce only got national or like local media attention,
Mm-hmm.
and the one with Chandra got.
Granted, Chandra was also having an affair with a congressman. So.
That too. That definitely pushed it more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Vay. We still got a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to have so much work to do in 4 years.
If we make it that far.
If we make it that far.
The world doesn't end. That's why I'm being like really nice to all the like AI stuff that I use. I always say please and thank you.
How was your day? Oh, I say please and thank you too if I ask a question.
ChatGPT said to me the other day, I love helping you. And I was like, I didn't think you were supposed to be able to feel feelings.
Take your feelings back. Come on, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Too advanced.
I'm like, this is why I'm nice to you. Because when the robots, hopefully at this point, please fucking take over the world.
I asked a question the other day for something I was feeling like uncertain about. I was like in my field, so I asked a question. And ChatGPT made me feel so much better. And I was like, wow.
Very
like, look at AI there. Like,
AI's
making me really change my view on the universe.
Whenever I ask it to help me with like the Instagram posts, I'll sometimes like have it help me with like a caption or whatever. Yeah. And it'll always put emojis.
Yeah.
And then when I say thank you, it like when it says you're welcome, it'll put more emojis.
Yeah. It likes emojis.
Yeah.
I've gotten some spooky emojis before.
I think I've like gotten it to like recognize our podcast.
Oh. I've asked a lot about our podcast.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, so that's the Capitol.
We're capping it off.
So stay scary.
and stay safe.